Hello everyone, this is Priya Patra. I am the Vice President Outreach of PMI Mumbai Chapter. And yes, we are hosting this event today as a part of PMI Chapter Exchange program. And I have with me Lanka Pinkot and Nirvana, who are the moderators of the session today. So Lanka, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lanka Pinkot. I am acting as Vice President for Programs for the Czech Republic chapter, and I represent one of the anchor chapters for this program for PMI Exchange program. This is a program Priya will talk about where we connect across chapters to deliver you this event.
And we also have a third anchor chapter, that is South Africa. So Nirvana, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nirvana Ramprasad. I'm from the South African chapter and I'm the VP for Professional Development.
So thank you everyone for joining in. And today we have PMI Phoenix chapter, Czech Republic chapter, South Africa, Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Florida, United Kingdom, and of course Mumbai as part of this exchange today. And our newest partner is PMI Phoenix chapter. And I'm so excited to see friends from Phoenix, Arizona joining in, that to 6:30 a.m. And we were just talking before this meeting. And, I know that it's early, but thank you so much for joining in and showing your overwhelming support for this program. So thank you for joining in. Let us know from where you have joined in. And for that, as usual, we have the Menti, www.menti.com. And the code for today is 269499 and 5. So please say hello to each other and continue networking while we get started. And I am really excited today to announce that we have registrations from 27 countries. So thank you everyone for this warm response to this initiative. And don't forget to let us know from where you have joined in. Go to menti.com 26949995.
Yeah, we added also to the chat, so you can find it on the top of the chat is the website and the code.
Yeah, thank you, Lanka, for that. Yes, and but before we get started, we have some working agreements. Of course, when we are working as a team, we will have to follow some agreement. And digital transformation is such an exciting topic. And you've already told us from where you have joined in, www.menti.com 269499 and 5. And you have a question for our panelist? Post it on the Q&A window. Oops, there is no Q&A window. I just realized there is a chat window. So post it on the chat window. Jane just disabled that Q&A window. I'm sorry about that. So you can just type in your questions on the chat window. And digital transformation is such an exciting topic. And the conversation can go on forever. And we truly believe that it should go on. It shouldn't stop here. So this conversation, if you want to take it forward, post your question not only on the chat window, but also on social media. You could prefix with chapter exchange, hashtag PMI chapter exchange, and the author name. And at the rate DDIBONS Didier Bonnet. The next one is Nadia Vincent, Garrett Burns, and David Rogers. He is the author of the book that Garrett is going to talk about from the reader's perspective, from the project manager's perspective, and that's why we are tagging him as well. He has requested us to get questions from you, and he would respond later on, and we could take this discussion forward. And last but not the least, please do take the feedback. Scan this code here, which is on your screen. Pick out your mobile phones and scan it right now. And there is a link as well, which Lanka has already put on the chat window. So you could go to the link and take the feedback or scan the QR code. And last but not the least, the meeting is being recorded. Yes. And if you wish to be recorded, stay along, you're welcome. And if you are a little uncomfortable, you may choose to leave now. But it's up to you. We would love you to be here. So let's carry on. A few words about the PMI Chapter Exchange initiative. And for us, it is all about collaboration. And this is a virtual collaboration platform for chapter leaders as well as members to connect, collaborate, and co-create. So this is what we are doing right now. We have co-created this event. We have collected topics that suits all our member base. And we have taken that common topic, we have connected, we have collaborated, and we have created this unique offering for you. It is all about teamwork, I believe. And I have been volunteering for PMI Global for quite time now, and I have seen many great PMI chapter leaders, and I'm amazed by the passion that and the dedication that they exhibit as leaders and volunteers. Imagine when all this passion come together, right? And that is what we are aiming for, building on each other's strengths, each other's capabilities. And this is a community as well, building a community of chapter leaders, members. And as we build community, we open up opportunities, as mentioned here. And these are only few opportunities that we are talking about. It's about speaking, authoring in a local chapter publication, networking opportunities, and of course, lots and lots of networking and connecting and collaborating. And the last but not the least, it is about growth. And for individuals who are part of this program, it is a growth for us as well. We can also think it about as a change, as a transformation. And we know that, in this case, where there is uncertainty, it spurs a lot of progress. And that in turn brings us growth. And I have said this before as well, and now I repeat it. We have 10 plus chapters, PMI chapters on this platform right now. And of course, it is growing. And I have a lot of support from lots of other chapters, and many of them are here today on this program. They have registered. I have lots of members joining us from Malaysia, Japan, Los Angeles, Ottawa chapter, to name a few. And Phoenix chapter is our newest partner in this program. And if you really want to be part of this program, join our community on ccp.pmi.org, which is PMI's chapter collaboration platform. Look up for the PMI Chapter Exchange community and send us a request, and we will add you there. And you will know what's going on, what we are up to, what we are co-creating, and you can always be part of that initiative. So with this, Shane, I will hand over to you. Shane is the president of PMI Phoenix chapter, a newest partner in this program. And I would request you to give a foreword about this program and this event, and why did you choose to be part of this program?
Okay, thank you, Priya. So I was introduced to Priya by Joe Poos, president of PMO Squad. He's a local company here in Phoenix, and he does a weekly radio show on project management. And he was working with Priya on speaking on the program. And during that conversation, Priya mentioned the chapter collaboration program, and Joe immediately thought of his local chapter, the Phoenix chapter, and he reached out to me, introduced me to Priya. And this was something I thought would be a great fit. I personally work on projects that are global in nature, where I work with PMs and subject matter experts across the globe. And so I think it's important, both networking and education for PMs to reach across and to work with others throughout the different countries that you may be involved with in your project. So I thought this was a great opportunity. I was glad to bring it to the chapter. We'll work through the time zone issues and join whenever possible. And we look forward to being part of the community.
Thank you, Shane. And thank you for all that support that you have provided to make this event such a success. It's too early for Phoenix, but I'm sure, I'm so glad to see so many people turning up. So that's a great, boost for us as well. So, okay. So with this, I hand over to Nirvana and Lanka for the next sections, and you could go ahead and introduce the speakers and start moderating the session.
Good to everyone. I hope you guys are doing well in whatever time zone you may be present. Today I'm going to introduce the three speakers. I'm going to start with Didier Bonnet. He is the author of Leading Digital, Turning Technology into Business Transformation. Didier will be followed by Nadia Vincent, who is going to be speaking on the book, Leveraging Digital Transformation. Thereafter, Carrot is going to be giving a review of David Rogers' book, The Digital Transformation Playbook. I'm now going to hand over to Didier to give a brief presentation of his book. Thank you, Didier.
I think Didier is trying to join in. In the meantime, I think we will move on to Nadia. Oh, there he is. Hi, Didier. Nice to see you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I was tackling digital transformation myself, so but it seems to be working. So delighted to be with you guys. So I'm just going to talk a little bit very shortly about Leading Digital, which is a project we started sort of around 2009, 2010 with a group of researchers at the MIT. And really what we were looking at the time, if you remember back then, you won't believe that for those of you who are very young, but back then no one was talking about digital transformation. Whereas now everything is about digital transformation today. So really the exam question was really looking at about 500 large global corporations. So we kind of excluded startup, excluded all the tech companies, not because we don't like them, but just because we wanted to focus on large, complex organization who have a big legacy already, embarked, because the nature of transformation was obviously very different. So we look at 500 of them across sectors, across countries, and the question being, are they out there companies that are doing digital transformation better than others? And of course, the corollary question was, if yes, then what are they doing, differently? So the interesting thing is that, so we did found, companies like Burberry at the time, Nike, Schneider in industrial, a large number of companies that were seemingly really advancing their transformation in a pretty organized way. And we basically decided to analyze them and quantify the results to see, one, whether they were going about digital transformation very differently, and two, whether there was some financial performance related to them doing transformation well. So I won't be able to show you the data today, but there is definitely a performance improvement for the companies that are doing that well. I think the interesting thing was really, which is my first point, is we found, digital transformation, obviously, you need to make investments in technology to do digital transformation by definition. But if that were the only dimension, then the richer company would always win, right? The company with more cash and more money to throw at technology will always be ahead. And that's not what we found at all. So it kind of triggered us that there was another dimension in parallel that was important, which we've called the how. So we've basically built an approach which basically says, there are two dimensions to this game. The what is really how to make smart technology investments to improve customer experience, or improve your operational efficiency, or start changing your business model. So that's kind of the what is kind of the obvious part of transformation. But there was also a second element, which we call the leadership dimension, which is more about the how. what is the vision for what you're trying to achieve? How do you engage employee? How do you actually govern a digital transformation program when you have 50 countries, 7 business lines, and how does it actually work? And the last point that came out quite importantly was the notion of how you mesh in technical and business people together. So for 100 years, the IT department had the quasi-monopoly of technology introduction in firms. This is not the case today. Okay, we know that supply chain people, HR people, marketing people are all buying technology. So it's how do we improve the relationship between the technology side of the corporation and the business side, which we can come back to. So this notion of the what and the how was essential. And of course, there are people that we found a great number of people that were very good on the what, so investing in technology, doing experiments all over the place, having proof of concepts and demonstrators everywhere, and really not getting to any scaling or financial performance. And the answer to us was really the way that you conduct both exercise. So the idea of making the smart investment, but then turning this investment into transformation, which is really all about what people call the soft side of the equation. And I've certainly learned that the soft side is a lot harder than the hard side. To be honest, over time. So that was really the framework that's in the book. The second thing that was really interesting at the time was this notion that digital transformation was going to bubble up in organization through a number of things that were happening. I mean, it was the era of bring your own device. It was the era of edge innovation. It was the era of millennials coming into firms. And a lot of experts that we talked to were saying, this change is going to happen bottom up, where these people are going to bring new ways of working, and it's going to force the incumbent management to really change the way they go about it. We actually found 0 example of that in our sample, not one. So in other words, unless you have a very strong top-down leadership, these programs usually fail. And it doesn't mean it's not good to have millennials and bring your own device and all this kind of stuff. That's great, but you do need to have the drive top down to make those kind of transformation happen. And then maybe the last point, and I'll finish on that, is that we kind of measure the progress of firms along the 2 dimensions every couple of years, just to see whether are we getting better at this stuff or not. And interestingly, on the what side, so on the investment into digital technology, despite the fact that, as you well know, the technology is getting smarter and more complex with IoT and AI and VR and AR and all this kind of stuff, people, we've seen not huge progress, but it's either flat or slightly increasing in terms of their ability to integrate this technology into the firm. The contrary is when we look at the leadership side, what I call the soft side, people are actually getting worse. Now, when we dig through the numbers and actually talk to people, what we find is it's not that corporations are getting worse. It's just, I think, everyone underestimated what it actually takes to transform an organization. So I think they were slightly over-optimistic at the outset and suddenly realized, oh my God, this is going to change our processes. It's going to change the way we remunerate people. It's going to change the way that we organize teams. And you add to that design thinking and agility, and it's like the complexity of the change that's going on in organization is immense. And so in the work I'm doing right now, a lot of people have suddenly discovered in the last few years that the soft side of digital transformation is actually the one thing that you got to get right to get this program successful, and therefore involving a lot more time and attention and to some extent investment into this particular area. And I'll finish on that, but one of the huge disappointment that I had doing this research was, we were seeing, and we are still seeing, a massive shift in the skill set of people within organization. And that's why everyone is talking about reskilling and mass reskilling and all this kind of stuff. And that's true. And yet, when we look at the number of HR or L&D people involved in this transformation. It was a small percentage, like, you know, less than 20%. There were good exceptions, but it was less than 20%. So I think we're getting, you know, in order to move to the next stage, and you know, and COVID has to some extent accelerated some part of digital transformation, but not all. I think we do need to get some more attention on this, on the leadership and the people side of the equation, because I think, to me, that really it's difficult to convey, but this is really what made the difference in the corporation that I mentioned, like Burberry or Nike or others. So I'll finish with that, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them up. Oh, chat. Should I open my chat, maybe?
No, it's okay, Didier. I'm monitoring the chat. We did not receive yet question from the chat, so I would really encourage everyone post your questions there. And but I would ask a question by myself, because most of the people in our audience right now are actually project managers. Yeah. And so you mentioned that one of the key elements of success is, for instance, top-down leadership. There is a soft side of the transformation, upskilling, cross-skilling, all the things. But if you look at the project manager and you imagine that he has a task to deliver on digital transformation, what kind of practical advice would you give project managers where they should focus on to succeed if they would be responsible for such a project as digital transformation?
Okay, so I think, so one thing I didn't say was the you know, I mentioned financial performance, and on average, this is across all sectors, so it's an average of averages, but we found that the firms that were doing digital transformation right were about 26% more profitable than the rest. And of course, there were many factors that actually drive that, but one of them, which was the highest correlation, was actually the governance side. And you guys being in project management, you know, I would really encourage to focus a lot of time on how this project has governed. And the reason I'm saying that is because probably the most common mistake is what we call in the book the fashionistas. You know, usually B2C company, sales and marketing at the senior level type of people. You have experimentation going on everywhere. We're doing AI, we're doing this, we've got apps, we've got, you know, everything, but nothing is connected. So it's very, and you get a lot of duplication, and therefore you're not really getting the leverage that you should be getting from your investment. And this is really all down to governance. And you can see in the last few years, you've seen, like, you know, innovation centers appearing everywhere. You know, we're okay because we have an innovation center in San Francisco, you know, and you go and see it, and it's like two people and a dog talking to some startup. That ain't going to change your organization. And again, it's to do with governance. You know, why are you doing that? And, you know, how do you get the value of that particular investment back into the mothership, and leverage this kind of knowledge? So as program managers, I would really say, you know, spend a long time challenging your organization about how, or your clients about how they are orchestrating those particular programs, because unless you get that right from the outset, it's, you know, it's very unlikely that you're going to make a big impact with the rest of your investment in transformation. It's a long answer to your questions, but
yeah, thank you for that. And I would react with one of the questions from the audience, because you mentioned so many times governance, orchestrating all the things together. There is a question that seems to be that digital transformation is no different than any other transformation, right? But so the question is, why is this leadership that you mentioned so often missing? What do you think that it's the reason for that, the lack of leadership? Or
yeah, so I would kind of challenge the fact that it's no different. I think there are quite a large number of elements that existed when we used to call it business transformation that exist in digital transformation, but there are also a large amount of differences. One of the main one is that you know, the management boards I work with, for instance, are not all digital savvy. If you talk to the board of Cisco, you don't have a lot of problem to talk to them about technology. If you talk to a food company or an oil and gas company, you may see a big gap already in the understanding of what this technology can do, and and where they should be mentally, in terms of leading this corporation properly, and that requires a lot of education, which is what I've been doing for a number of years in terms of understanding. Like right now, the best example is AI. You won't have a single chief executive standing up on a platform that doesn't mention AI at least 3 times, and if you sit down with that person for sufficient amount of time, you realize that he or she have probably no idea what this technology actually do or could do to that. So the first difference is that when we were talking about cost reduction or reorganization in the old business transformation, the technology component was supporting. Today, the technology component is leading, sometimes driving what you can actually do for change, and that to me is a big difference. And there are others. So, for instance, we talk about engagement. So, in the old days of business transformation, I think we used to call it mobilization. So, every big program had a mobilization stream where we did big rah-rah meetings in town halls and all this kind of stuff, to mobilize people. The difference with digital is you can do that at scale today. So I'll give you a practical example of a client I had recently, which is a pharma company. We launching a new product in pharma is a nightmare, because you virtually have to go down to scripting every single salesperson that goes to see every single doctor about what they can and cannot say. You can, and that used to be the way that it worked. Last year we trained about 2,000 pharma salespeople virtually in 2 days. Okay, on the launch of a new product. So I think the scale, the reach of this technology is very, very different than what we used to be doing in terms of transformation. And I could go on. So I think it's true that at a certain altitude, the core components are the same. You need a vision, you need to engage people, you need some project management and governance and so on and so forth. But I think when you start scratching below the surface, you'll find that there's some really very specific aspects of digital transformation that are very different.
Mm-hmm. May I follow up on that with another question? And that is, do you think that agile principles, agile way of working can help in digital transformation? What would be the use of agile approaches and to help to succeed in digital transformation?
Yes. So how could I put that nicely? So I'm a great fan of agile. Unfortunately, I think it's fallen in the same basket as AI. Everybody is agile, wants to be agile. What's your strategy? I want to be agile and adaptable and all that. And so that's number one. So I think we got to take agility for what it is, which is remember where it comes from. It comes from software development. So it was a very clever way to try to fast track developments when it needed particularly cross-functional team. And I think there is a huge amount to learn from Agile program today about how we can start shaping how people work within organization beyond the traditional silos that we've created. For years I've heard people saying we need to destroy silos. If you know anything about organizational theory, it doesn't. If you destroy some silos, you'll recreate new ones. So silos will always be there. You just need to learn about how do you work across those silos, and it's particularly important in digital operations, because you will find that for any application that you do, you will start crossing the natural silos that we created, whether they're functional, geographical, or whatever else. And this is where I think Agile can really help, because and when I say Agile, whatever technique, methods you're a fan of, the concept of this fast developments, cross-fertilization between silos is incredibly important. My only caveat would be that I see too many people, how could I put it, doing Agile projects, but not necessarily becoming an Agile organization. So in other words, you can have 2 or 3 projects or pilots that you've done extremely well with performance results that you can demonstrate through business cases and stuff like that, but it doesn't make your entire organization agile. And I think this was where the challenge lies, is how do we make these principles effective in the way that people work naturally, rather than just specific programs here and there scattered across the organization. And again, you don't need to change everyone, and it doesn't mean that the finance back office department is to be agile on a daily basis, although it might help. But so you can focus those programs. But the point is that we have to move from agile projects to agile organization, and that's a big transformation in itself.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think we can allow one last question. And okay, that would be, again, coming to the current situation, we all deal with COVID, post-COVID situation. If you would pick up 3 challenges or 3 advices for project managers who are involved in digital transformation in this COVID or post-COVID world, what kind of things you would recommend them to really focus on to make it a success and relate it to the situation that most of us are right now in?
So let me make sure I understand the question. So how would the project manager need to act in order to survive the post-COVID era, right?
Yeah, to really help accelerating digital transformation. Okay. Because the digital transformation maybe a year ago, it was very important, but we all see that COVID situation accelerated, especially digitalization in some industries a lot. So again, when we look at project managers, what do you think that 3 areas they should really focus on that may be challenging for them so that they can help to accelerate the digital transformation in the COVID,
Okay. So let me share with you some of the stuff that I've done recently, because that's an important point. So first of all, that you have a bunch of companies that have suffered, but also you have a bunch of companies that have been very successful during COVID. So if you're Netflix, you're doing okay. If you're United Airlines, you're probably not in that good shape. Okay. So there are differences within that. Everyone that I've seen or talked to usually comes up with a sentence that we've achieved in 3 months what we've not achieved in 3 years. I want to caveat that a little bit, because when it comes to adoption of technology tools, I agree 100%. So in other words, and this is a whole work from home, Zoom, Teams, and all this kind of stuff. What COVID has done is to some extent forced by necessity people that were either naturally resistant or totally ambivalent or not interested in these technology tools to actually use them, because that's the only game in town. Okay, so it's a bit back to Plato's statement that necessity is the mother of invention. We've just lived with that. That was the only thing that can do. So that is a huge plus from a program management perspective, because I'm sure you'll remember. When you deploy any technology tool within an organization, unless you do the adoption part right, you don't get a business case. You get the deployment of a technology. The best example being the number of enterprise social networks that have been launched across the world. And when you actually look at the result, less than 50% have been actually successful, because we've deployed stuff without actually looking at the user side. Okay, so that is a massive, massive plus. From the COVID, and I would really play on that, because I think the resistance to some of these tools has naturally diminished, and I would err on the fact that this will remain. Okay. The second part that is really interesting is the learning side. So people have been at home with plenty of capacity or in most cases, plenty of capacity to learn new stuff, and I've seen company really taking it, and again, back to the point that if you remember a year ago, every consulting firm, every analyst was talking about mass reskilling as the answer to everything, right? There we've had a natural worldwide experiment where you can actually do that. And some companies have taken advantage of that very smartly by really connecting with their population, I've seen some companies doing individual learning journeys for their people while they were working from home, and metricing all this stuff. Sometimes certification came into the game in terms of moving people along. So that was fabulous. But again, it's a minority of company. The others have just say, hey, we've got all these digital tools online, these videos, why don't you go watch that while you're at home? And guess what? People didn't. Okay, so I think on the skilling side, and that's my comment, back to my comment, I think the L&D and HR community needs to really rethink what's just happened in order to really leverage what could happen in terms of reskilling the population, because it will be needed. The more technology we throw at people, the more this reskilling will be needed. The third one is really around adoption, absolutely, take brilliant impact, learning 50-50, some yes, some not. The last one is innovation. I mean, we've seen amazing innovation happening and in all forms, you know, in restaurant being closed and throwing pop-up stores and all this kind of stuff, in car manufacturing, building ventilators and so on and so forth. And even in my field, in professional services and education, we've had to innovate very, very quickly, again, because of necessity. And when you look at why that happened, it was really down to a lot of factors, like there were less rules, less reporting, more autonomy, blah, 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 blah. And my question would be, when we go back to some form of normality, where we reintroduce all these sort of quasi-bureaucracy into our machines, would this level of innovation remain, or can we use it, or will we just go back to business as usual and that die? And I hope it won't, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, thank you, Didier, so much. That was very informative, very inspiring for the future. Thank you for all the questions. We will now have to hand over back for the next author. So Nirvana, I will hand it over to you to introduce our second book. Thank you so much, Didier.
I'd like to introduce Nadia Vincent, and she's going to be speaking on her book entitled Levering Digital Transformation: Proven Leadership and Innovation Strategies to Engage and Grow Your Organization. Thank you, Nadia. Over to you.
Nadia, are you speaking on mute? Oops. Yeah.
Nadia, we don't see you. Or we don't hear you, actually.
Oh, just a second.
Okay, now we got you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I will restart because I don't know at what time you didn't hear me. So I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Leveraging Digital Transformation is the second edition of my book on digital transformation. The first edition was named The Digital Transformation Success Formula back in 2016. And Leveraging Digital Transformation, the second one, carried the same formula and approach, but it goes further. The book can be summarized with the formula, which is digital transformation is equal to the transformation of individual, meaning the people, transformation of business, transformation of technology. And in the implementation part, what we work on is to reduce fear. So Leveraging Digital Transformation, it's a book that is addressed both to executives and to managers, be it project manager, program manager, depending where you're in the organization. And originally, I wrote Leveraging Digital Transformation, or the Digital Transformation Success Formula, as I was implementing and especially rescuing many digital transformation project and program back after 2010. And I realized that there was a misunderstanding of what digital transformation is, because we went from change project, change program, and then we were in digital transformation, but everybody were still considering them as change project or normal project. And as a result, the rate of failure of project was very high, the rate of burnout as well. So the formula in digital transformation is not a formula that can be achieved by one person, by the project manager or by a program manager or by the CEO. It's a collaborative formula, both for top management and middle management, in order to implement digital transformation successfully. So in this presentation, I will speak mostly on what applies to the project manager and how the project manager can make the best of it. The first thing for the project manager is about the vision. Generally, the vision should come from top management and it should go down in the organization. But unfortunately, what's been happening with digital transformation is that the top management himself, sometimes for themselves, they are not clear about the vision. And I mean, to rescue many of those projects and programs, I had to work sometimes as a project manager or program manager, but with extensive authority that I had to go and get from top management, because simply a project manager cannot achieve digital transformation or lead digital transformation by itself. It's a question of priority, decision, and authority. So it's important for a project manager to, if the vision is not there or if it's not clear, it's important for them to help top management clarify the vision. And how they can help, it's by asking questions in order to clarify the vision for the top management, but for the organization. Because often we have a goal, but everybody has their own vision of the goal we are trying to achieve. In the end, we achieve nothing. And the second thing is the project management triangle that we are used to. We need to do a project management triangle for the square. The square, what it includes, in the triangle, we had price, cost, quality to manage. But in the rectangle, we have an additional one. It is individual or the people. It's the part that's become the employee experience. Back then, I did call it the user experience in the book. But today, the buzzword for it is employee experience. It's the same thing. Because there is a question of responsibility that we must take in the organization when we ask people to achieve things and in the condition that people are working. So the project manager will have to consider the individual, the situation that they are working, which is much more challenging today, and find a way and facilitate the teams to achieve the goal of the project. So for that, the project manager will need to transform himself or herself so that he or she can inspire the other people in the team, because telling people what to do doesn't work anymore because the context is too challenging. However, doing it yourself, you inspire people to do it, because people cannot say that you tell me to do something, but you're not doing it. So it's all about leadership skills. And another skill that's very important today for project manager is entrepreneurship skills, negotiation skills for project manager, because you will be in a transformation situation, you will be in situation where you will need to fight, you need to negotiate for your people, not just for your people, but in order to have the tools, the technology, the investment to make the project happen. So that's why I say project managers need to become entrepreneurs. So leadership skills, entrepreneurship skills, and as well self-transformation, so that they inspire the people in the organization to follow to achieve more. And last, it's the processes. Most organizations today, especially existing organizations, their processes are their processes are outdated. Some of them, they are useless. You can simply delete them. Today, you can reinvent them or optimize them. It's simply because today there is a new business intelligence when we look at artificial intelligence. So before, there are many things we will assign to a person, but today we need to reevaluate how we assign the task, because some tasks need to be delegated to artificial intelligence instead of a human, because the artificial intelligence will be able to do it better. or reevaluate the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence and how to team people, to group people together. So therefore, all the processes need to be reevaluated for the way they are achieved, but as well, who own the process, who run this process. So for project managers, those are my top 3 takeout from leveraging digital transformation today. Thank you. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I will again thank you, Nadia, for the presentation, for introducing your book. I will again encourage our audience to send us the questions. I saw that some of us are sending the questions to everyone. Some of you share the questions just to us as the panelists. We are trying to pick up your questions and then ask them at the right time. And so I would ask one question here, because I really like, the way how you formulated drop the project management triangle, reinvent yourself. So when we imagine a project manager, so what practical advice would you give to someone? How can you reinvent yourself in the time when we have all this digital transformation, AI, new technologies coming? So can you advise some 3-4 steps how to actually reinvent myself if I say I want to do it, but I don't know where to start?
Okay, that's great. Well, the first one that I suggest to people generally, it's about change, about embracing change and looking for opportunity in change instead of being fearful. Because most of the time, that's what happens, is the fear that take over when there are some changes in the world, in how you used to work, and changes that bring change in the personal life. So it's professional change that brings changes in the personal life. So it's all about mindset. It's about changing the mindset, seeing things on a different angle and looking for the opportunity in the change, looking for the way that you can make the difference and looking for the lesson to learn, because with change, we grow. And if there is no change at all, then that means we stay still, but life never stays still. So we go forward in life. So we should learn to embrace change and release fear, because in the formula, another thing that I discuss about is the fear. The fear, then we go back to neuroscience and brain science to show that the fear and the reality, sometimes it's not the same. It's again about mindset. And today, with the latest discovery in brain science and neuroscience, then we can reprogram our brain. That's the neuroplasticity that shows that our brain is growing, is still growing. So that means this fear, we are able to manage it. We are able to take this fear and convert it into energy. So that's how to inspire, how to go for self-transformation first and then inspire people to change. Another point, again, it's about identifying your own personal purpose. What is the thing that makes you alive? What is the thing that you really want to do? What is the thing that makes you get up in the morning? What is the thing that makes you love doing your work, what you do, your profession? And it's about embracing them. And there are things that talk deep in yourself that motivate you, and finding a way to align them with your vision and the business, the organization vision. That I explain and describe very well in leveraging digital transformation. So it's in the end, aligning your goals, your vision with that of the company. And then that means whatever you are achieving, you are fulfilling yourself, but you are also helping the company go further and progress. So both of you are growing at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would just follow up on your answer, and I would connect it a little bit with what Didier mentioned, because he mentioned the artificial intelligence. I believe you mentioned that a bit too. So when we talk about reinventing ourselves and working with our brain as a tool to learn new things, what can you pick up maybe 3 topics that you believe are really important for project managers in today's time to learn so that they can better succeed in age of digital transformations? What would that be that you would recommend to learn and educate themselves in 3 areas, whether it's technology, some ways of working, customer experience, what that would be?
Okay, well, it depends on I know in project management, there are different roles that people carry. Sometimes people are working in fully technical projects, while other can be very business or other professional. So the self-transformation, it addresses everyone. So for example, I have on my platforms, the self-transformation part, I have lots of self-transformation courses, and they apply to anyone because it's about individual transformation. And the other part, what they can learn, it's about innovation, business innovation. So that goes hand in hand with the entrepreneurship skills, because whether it's on a business or in an organization, we all need to innovate today. So every project manager needs to learn about the strategy and the process of innovation, because they will be able to apply it in technological context, in business context, in personal context. And the innovation approach will serve them very much in the business or entrepreneurship part. As I say, on the entrepreneurship part, they need, the first one is about negotiation. That every project manager need. They can take this course. Every project manager can go eyes closed, take the negotiation course, because you need that. You need that to fight for your team. Yeah, you need it.
Yeah. So thank you for your insight, Nadia. So you heard it. Negotiation, entrepreneurship, innovation, these are the 3 key skills that we need to continuously learn and be better at that. So thank you so much for introduction of your book and also for all your valuable insight. And Nirvana, I would ask you to move to the 3rd book so that we also have enough time to discuss that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanka. Welcome to Garrett Burns, who's going to be doing a review of the book by David Rogers entitled The Digital Transformation Playbook. Garrett Burns, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our presentation. Today, I'm going to talk about the Digital Transformation Playbook, Rethink Your Business for the Digital Age. Like I said, by David Rogers. The concept of this book, it's broken down into, like I said, a playbook format to understand how organizations should modify their strategy. And basically, the book is broken out into 5 domains: customers, competition, data, innovation, and value. The CCDIV, we'll just use that abbreviation, CCDIV. And so as we are learning and as we are maturing in organizational and digital transformation, companies are realizing that their customer base is different. For example, it's not just your single customer, you sold a product. There's a whole customer network. Customers talk to customers. Customers communicate back to the organization. Competition has changed. It's not just one organization competing for a market with another organization. Companies are getting together to strategize on how they can work together to deliver their products. Data is so important, and there's more data than we could have ever imagined in our lifetime that's available. And using that data as an asset to develop your product and or service in the digital age. Innovation and very important, I don't want to miss the value proposition to your customer base. So for each of these chapters within the book, Mr. Rogers presents tools to guide your transformation, and they're either ideation, mapping, planning, or decision tools. As a project manager, when I was reading this book, I noted these tools can be used throughout the life cycle of your project just to make sure and to measure any potential change that might change the direction of your project, such as has your customer base changed, has the competition changed, has anybody entered the market? And so if you use those tools and reevaluate the outcome of those exercises, you can adjust and adapt your project outcome. And the importance, of course, the overall premise of the book is defining the strategy and using these tools to define the strategy. And then the strategy is driven by the disruptions in your organization or in your field. And there are additional tools to assess the potential threats and plan your business responses around those potential disruptions. And again, the tools are key. And from a project manager perspective, utilizing those tools throughout the life cycle of your project. And we can cover some. The book also touches on real world experiences, both on newcomers, new organizations such as Uber or Netflix, of course, and how they competed against Netflix, of course, against Blockbuster. What was the difference? What was their different value proposition? How did they come to the market differently? How did they communicated and interacted with their customers differently? So those examples were very informative and helpful in applying that to maybe your personal experience in the projects that you're working on. Let's see.
Thank you, Gareth. So
Thank
are you
you.
ready to take some questions? Thank you so much, because you are now representing the reader, member of project management community who's reading. So, and we already presented 2 books, and I don't know if it's just me, but I have an impression that digital transformation, that is a pretty complex thing to do, right? So when we have these books and you as a reader project manager and you read such a book, how would you recommend other project managers to actually work with that? So you read the book, it's big, you know, a lot of things. What would you recommend to do with all the knowledge information that you got from the book, and how can you actually transfer to your job as a project manager practically?
So I would actually take those tools and maybe run through the exercises on the projects that you're working on currently, and see, are we addressing the customer base? Did we miss anything, such as a requirement that we're not addressing a specific customer or the competition? Are we missing opportunities? And really establish a relationship with your chief strategists in your organization, whether that's your CTO or chief marketing officer or chief technology officer, any in your executive level, to become part of that conversation and talk to your sponsors about these opportunities and these tools, and work with them to make sure that you're covering everything in your project, and that you want to make sure that all of these critical factors are addressed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So if I rephrase, you would recommend to take the book exercises. If there are any templates, try to use them. I would maybe also look at one of your takeaways is looking at business strategy, strategic ideation, etc. Again, when you imagine yourself as a project manager, how do you think that project managers with all the knowledge about technologies, or how Nadia was talking about, educate yourself in innovation, you know, AI, reinvent yourself? How would you find the voice in organization to take it really to the strategic level, so that you as a project manager who's educated in digital transformation can really help the company the most?
I would really have these discussions, of course, with your direct report to present your ideas and have them escalate. Organizations I know are getting flatter. Where a project manager, depending upon the organization, might feel comfortable going directly to the C-level and having these discussions. But if you present them, if you're working at a PMO, for example, present these ideas to your PMO director, and ask to be invited to the next strategy meeting so that you can share maybe an outline of the book, do a presentation just like we're doing right now. This is what I'm reading. This is a great resource, and all these books are also great resources, and work together and really just try to immerse yourself. And part of what Nadia was saying is step out of your comfort zone a little bit and be a leader. All these books touch on leadership, and I think project managers, we aren't just ticking boxes or making checklists anymore. We're part of the leadership team, and we should have a presence there.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning this aspect, because yes, project management is a lot about leadership, and we talked about some challenges during the digital transformation. So challenges that Didier was referring to. If you, as a project manager, with this practical experience, what kind of challenges do you see from your side, from your end, during digital transformation? What is the hardest for you?
Getting the voice, for sure. And getting the entire team to see the vision and to participate, and getting everybody on board to feel like they're part of this great digital transformation outcome. And that's part of the organizational change management. There are really so many factors involved in just making sure that everybody's on board and everybody feels a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And the transformation.
Thank you for that. May I elaborate also on one other topic that we mentioned here several times, and that was agility. And we had a couple of questions on that also from our audience in the chat. Do you see some use of agile methods during digital transformation? Do you think that would be helpful to incorporate some of the methods in the way how digital transformations are executed? Again, like from your perspective as a project manager.
I think continuous development, continuous learning, continuous improvement throughout your project lifecycle. Again, going back to these tools and being able to, if you're running a Scrum team, being able to modify your stories to input a new requirement just because there's been an industry change. For example, anybody who started a project during COVID, or before COVID, you started a project. I'm sure after COVID, your sprints changed, your stories changed. You had to be agile. Your product perhaps changed a little bit to address the new communication methods, for example, and how you were going to market your product. So to be agile, you have to, in digital transformation, I believe, as a project manager, you have to expect those changes throughout your project. And it might even be faster than what we're used to. You might get a change mid-sprint versus after the sprint, for example. And so you even have to react a little bit more quickly, I think.
Okay, thank you for that. I know that there's a lot of questions on you. Just checking the chat, and we have here one last question, and I would try to ask also our other speakers so that you all have a chance to respond to that. So what is interesting for our audience, for our project managers, is During your speeches, especially Didier, again, it was mentioned that we need to break this working in silos. And there is a question, what is the most effective tool for managing resources in silos? How we can address that during the digital transformation? So we have just few minutes left, so I would please kindly ask you to keep your answer short. But Didier, could you please comment on this topic? Working in silos and how can we address it during the digital transformation?
Yeah, I think, we've mentioned one way to do that effectively, which is, all these agile projects that we're doing. I mean, that's a very good way to start, at least getting people, if you're not breaking silos, at least you're getting people within silos to work together, which is always the first step. But I think, it's, as I said earlier on, it's for me, it's more about, you can change the way you're organized, and that might help for the short term, but you're always replacing one silo with another one. So, and that might be useful for, the next couple of years. I think it's more important to really embed the principles of what makes an agile organization within the way of working of the organization. So you don't need an orchestration, a middle management, and dare I say, a program manager on your back to tell you that it's good to work with the IT people or with the marketing people, that it actually happens naturally as you try to crack the problem. And if you can embed that into the way of working on the organization, then you're already a long way.
Okay, thank you so much, Didier. Nadia, would you also like to comment on this, the issue working on silos? How does it relate to digital transformation? Again, we look for any practical advice for project managers who may be involved in the situation.
Well, working in silo, it's as Didier said, it's something that will come back over and over again. So the best thing that you can do is to keep investing in people so that they grow to maturity. Because what happens is that some initiatives start digital transformation, some type of transformation, and then just like the project, it ends, and then people go back to the old way of thinking. Therefore, a question that I had there. So it's really keep investing in people so that they grow and achieve a maturity level, so they can always be very helpful in the organization wherever they are placed at any different moment in time.
Thank you so much for your insight. And Garrett, please, short comment on that. You are the project manager. What do you do to address this issue working in silos during digital transformation?
Get sponsorship support and make sure that your sponsor is communicating with the team to encourage cross-department and cross-silo discussion and to ensure that that is happening.
Yeah, so we're back to the leadership role, right?
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for all your insight, really, and sharing your experience and all your know-how that you've collected during digital transformations of various kinds. And I would hand it over right now to our leader from Sri Lanka chapter, to Damika, to summarize the key takeaways. So Damika, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Lanka. So thanks all for a fruitful almost 1 hour discussion. So first of all, I would like to thank the panelists. Didier, thanks for enlightening us on leading digital and the approach of top-down leadership. And thanks for your practical advice given to project management as an answer to Lanka's question, and sharing your expert views on Agile. And also Nadia on leveraging digital transformation, your inspiring speech on strategies to engage and grow your organization. Hope our audience gained great knowledge and you will reevaluate for the digital age when you go back to your organizations. And for Garrett, review on the book, The Digital Transformation Playbook. So it's a great review and how a company should modify its strategy to address digital transformation and the importance of data and use them in your organization. So the data will be the future, and data will play a vital role. Of course, I think we should all agree on this initiative. So I would like to invite all of you first. This was a very short, about 1 hour session. So we covered 3 books. So let's read. So please get these books and read these books, so you will get more idea on what these speakers talk about. And again, thanks for the panelists, and for the participants, please take your feedback by scanning the QR code you will see in the screen, or you will get the link on your chat. I think Priya can set the link on chat to all the participants.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks, Priya.
Yeah, Lanka's already done.
Yeah, okay. So then you'll see this QR code.
Thank you, Damika, for the summary.
Yeah, and next month we have PMI New Zealand joining. This would be a panel discussion, and we are now growing with 9 chapters in our family. Thank you.
All right, Priya, back to you.
All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. And we have already shared the feedback link, as Damika has mentioned. And we are getting joined. I mean, our family is growing to 10 chapters next month. We are having PMI New Zealand joining us, and that would be a panel discussion. And it would be on Saturday, October 31st, 10:30 a.m. Sorry about keeping that on Saturday. Friday evening would be midnight for them, so we had to kind of adjust the time accordingly. And we are still working on it. We are still working on our frameworks. We are working the Agile way, as Didier said. And yes, we are trying not to be siloed, and we are trying to bring in a lot of collaboration, and we will see what best suits for all the time zones. It's tough, but we are working on it. So thank you everyone for joining in. See you again next month, October 31st, 10:30 a.m. IST, that is Indian Standard Time, which would be probably a breakfast session for CET, the European time, and the South Africa time. And thank you all the panelists for such a wonderful job, and Lanka and Nirvana for moderating the session so well. The Phoenix team, awesome job. No technical issues. Thank you very much, and you coordinated it very well. And all our supporting members who have joined in at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, as well as from Australia, midnight probably it would be. So thank you everyone for joining in. Hope to see you again next week. Okay. So do you want to take a screenshot, Linda?
Oh, I would love to take a screenshot, but let me hold on for a second. So whoever wants to be in the screenshot, just please feel encouraged to switch on the video. Just a second, I will just save one that I'm doing right now. It's a beautiful Priya waving. I'm sorry. And okay, let me switch to different view. Oh my, so many things. Click on.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, okay, Priya, or you can do that as well. I was saving another screenshot, so let me switch to grid view. So whoever is there, yeah, feel free to smile. I'm taking the screenshot right now. Oh, beautiful.
All right. So
I got all of you. That's amazing. Yeah. Everybody's smiling, looking at me. This is very rare.
Bye. See you again next month. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.